Well, fun. Our integrals are getting just a little bit more complicated now. Keeping in mind that the power rule is going to be the simplest way to integrate, and not forgetting that we know a whole lot of algebra, we know that we can split this numerator into two pieces. That would look like this. I also took the liberty of calling the square root of t a t to the 1/2 power. 10 over t squared can more conveniently be written as 10t to the negative 2 power, and t to the 1/2 divided by t squared. Our exponent rules tell us that we have to subtract those powers. 1/2 minus 2 is negative 3/2. So we get t to the negative 3/2 power as our second term, and that is what we want to integrate. Now we just have t's to some real number powers, so we're going to use that power rule. If I add 1 to the negative 2 power, we get a negative 1, divide by that power. If I add 1 to negative 3/2, I get negative 1/2, and we're going to divide by that power. And we're going to evaluate this from 10 to 12. A little bit of simplification. This 1/2 in the denominator is going to flip over and become a 2. I'm also going to take these two negatives and call that a plus. And hopefully this isn't too many steps at once, but I'm going to take this t to the negative 1/2 power. I'm going to move it to the denominator, and I'm just going to go ahead and call it a square root. There are lots of different ways that you can write this. I just chose to write it this way this time. Okay, now the fundamental theorem of calculus just says we have to plug in the upper limit of 12 into this function, subtract, and plug in the lower limit of 10. And that is the answer. We can maybe simplify what would be reasonable to simplify. I just reduced the fractions and distributed that negative sign. Negative 5/6 plus 1 is just 1/6. And there's not really a convenient way to combine these terms. So I think we can call that the final answer. And I think what we did in the last video was pretty fun. Let's show how we would type this into the internet to get a number for our answer. We would just type 1/6 plus 2 over SQRT is pretty standard notation for a square root. And it's safest to put whatever you're plugging into your square root in parentheses. And the last term is minus 2 over SQRT 10. Okay, cool. I hope that helps.